Hello everyone, my name is Vijaya and today we're gonna talk about Beauty Soon by Kurniawan. Well, if you watch my previous video, then you would know that I love this book very much for many solid reasons. Okay, this is a gothic novel with a lot of my favorite elements, and these elements are something that you usually find in some other books, but they're not necessarily as well executed as this one. And so yes, Kurniawan was definitely a talented writer. I admire his writing so much. This is a translation, so I did not read the Indonesian version of this book. I only read the English translation, but even then it felt like, yeah, this is the kind of writer that I would definitely want to reread again. I am actually quite nervous to review this book because I love this book very much, but at the same time I do not want to spoil so many things that happened in this book, because when I first read this book I didn't know much except for the fact that Dewi Ayu rises from her grave to avenge a curse on her family. And I actually really enjoyed this book despite the fact I didn't know much, and with every revelation it's just like wow, it's super mind-blowing, and I want you to experience the same thing as I did. So I'm gonna be really careful over here. And let's proceed to the premise of this book before I rant too much or I blabber too much. Okay, this is about Dewi Ayu. Obviously, it's about Dewi Ayu. She is an Indonesian woman who rises from the grave after 21 years of being dead to avenge a curse placed on her family. So naturally, I would expect it to see whatever she's gonna do, to stop the curse from continuing to destroy her family. But no, instead of that, we'll be going way back to the past, when she was a teenager. Way back when Dewi Ayu was a teenager, and wow, it's just so freaking mind-blowing. I mean, the history of the family is just crazy. There's a lot of family drama, there's a lot of family secrets, and it's just really crazy. And you know what? This book is set in, in the current times. When I say current, I don't necessarily mean current, I mean contemporary time, as in, I'm guessing in the 90s. I'm just guessing, okay? This is just a guess. But it goes way back to the pre-independence era of pre-independence of Indonesia. This book doesn't shy away from those controversial things, and it's just not your typical pre-independence kind of book, because usually the book that I read that's set in pre-independence, they tend to be very morally right, in the sense that they try so hard to be morally right that it just feels a bit forceful. But this book managed to, convey certain messages, a certain theme, raises a certain question about humanity, about a lot of things in general, about a lot of life, philosophical questions, and yet it doesn't feel forceful. This book, I believe, is more suitable to be read by those, above 16th or above 15th, in my opinion, because this book has a lot of rape scenes. On top of that, this book also does have consensual sex scenes, and there's some violence, there are some murders. So if you're not comfortable with any of these elements and you do not want to read a book with any of these elements, then probably this book is not for you. But personally, I love this book very much because of those elements, except for the rape one, because it's really emotional. Like, to be honest, there's a point when I was reading, I feel like I want to throw this book away because I was so angry with many of the characters. It's just awful, it's just terrible, it's just really bad. It just got really emotional. It just sucks, it just really sucks to see what these characters have to go through, you know. And you know, being a book that started in the pre-independence, progressing to its modern times, you can see a lot of, you know, sufferings, definitely, because you see, pre-independence means, you know, being under the Japanese occupation, also being under the Dutch colonialism, and then once they achieve independence, they have to put up with being under a dictatorship. So there's a lot of, you know, emotional things going on. So you can get really emotional at times. But that doesn't make this a bad book. It just makes this book even greater, because you start questioning things, you know, you start questioning things and making your own conclusion, and kind of reaffirm certain things that you have been thinking about a lot. The book also has some dark humor. You see, Eka Kurniawan is actually a humorous writer in the sense that he always, you know, incorporate this humorous element into a serious situation. Like, for example, there's a scene where a character was raped by this man, and somehow she made this terrible decision, this awful stupid decision to marry her own rapist, and then decided to get a protective armor which protected her private parts so her husband could not penetrate her. That's like the most, one of the most mind-blowing thing in the book. Is just like, wow, you can get a protective armor to protect your private parts from being raped. It's just, wow, it's just freaking amazing. The husband, or the rapist, I would prefer to call this man a rapist rather than a husband, because he doesn't deserve to be a husband, to be honest with you. This rapist, like, how do I say this rapist, like, despite knowing that this woman is willing to go through a lot of measures to make sure that she does not get herself contaminated once again, this man seems to be, I don't know, in Malay we call it tak sedar diri, you know. It's just, wow, you still have the nerve to try to rape your own wife, even though it's really, really clear that she doesn't want to be touched by you. It's like, what the hell, man? It's like, wow, it's really freaking sad. Like, dude, that woman clearly doesn't want you, and you still are trying to, like, it's like, wow. It's like, yeah, this book is filled with terrible men. Let me add one more thing, that protective armor is protected by magic. Yes, there's also black magic in this book. Wow, super amazing, right? I'm loving all these elements, except the rape part, because that's a terrible thing. But this book goes way back to Dewi Ayu's teenagehood, young adulthood, and then progresses to how she got her first baby, second baby, third baby, and finally the fourth child, and all are daughters. And all her daughters happen to be very beautiful ladies who happen to live in a nasty world, lived by man who is as nasty as dogs in heat. In fact, there's a quote on the back of the book. Let's see. There's no curse more terrible than to give birth to a pretty female in a world of men as nasty as dogs in heat. I love this quote, because it's very true. And let me correct myself. All Dewi Ayu's daughters happen to be really, really beautiful people, except for the fourth one. The fourth one was described as the most hideous woman ever, to the point that when she was born, the midwife doesn't even know whether it's shit or it's a baby. Wow. Certain things that made me angry. Certain things in the book that made me angry, but most of them are terrible decisions made by the characters, like that part where that one character decided to marry her own rapist, which is awful and stupid and terrible. And also, of course, so many things, like, but then again, their stupid decisions are very important, because you know why? It taught us a lot of things. It taught us not to make the same mistakes as them. It taught us to educate our young, our own friends, our own people. to not repeat the same stupid mistakes all over and over again. And yes, let's not be surprised by the fact that even now, we still see marriage as a solution to certain problems, you know. It's funny really, because this book is set way back, and some people in current society still have the same freaking mentality. And I'm not just talking about that decision to marry their own rapist. I'm also talking about that one scene, that part where the mother, there's one character who's a mother, decide to marry off her daughter to a guy, to some guy, when the daughter was only primary school, just simply because she's scared that her daughter got corrupted just like the older sister. And I'm just like, woman, marriage is not a solution to everything. And most importantly guys, marriage does not make anything wrong become morally right. There are also actually some ghosts in this book. In fact, there's a ghost that actually haunt this one guy to the point that the guy turns crazy. It's quite humorous that way. It's really funny actually. I mean, in a way, it's actually funny until it happens to you. I hope it never happens to anyone, but it's actually quite funny in this fictional story. Again, fictional story! Just trying to make myself feel better. This family drama goes from the generations of Dewi Ayu, from Dewi Ayu's generation to her children, and finally to her grandchildren. And you will not be disappointed by the drama that's prilling around these whole 3 generations, and it's gonna be a hell of a ride. I tell you guys, it's gonna be a crazy ride. So enjoy guys, enjoy, and be angry while you're at it, because there are certain scenes that you should be angry at, should be angry about, and express your feelings through another book video, a book review, if you want to do one, because I would like to see what you guys feel about this book. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoy my review. I have been trying my best not to spoil anything. I've been trying, okay guys, I've been trying. And thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.